All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the homestead. It's early morning on a weekend, and as you can see, the arch trellis is holding up well, but we've got a little bit of an issue. This side here that you are seeing is the original small bed that we built and grew in last year, and then the side here is new. The problem comes in, simply put, really great growth, good growth, but very, very slow. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to show you what we are going to do today to fix that, particularly before this round of heat hits. So let's go on ahead and get started. For a little bit more of a close-up, you can see this is where we have our cowpea. We have cucumber here. We've got nasturtium and then of course zinnia. This side is going to be a red ripper. And we definitely have some climbing growth. That's good. But the plants are definitely smaller. And it's not just them. I've got some struggle bus happening on our calendula in here. Down here we've got one ground cherry plant that's having some really good growth. The other two are a little bit behind, and so's the marigold down there. This side here is where we have the Mayflower pole bean, also a dried bean variety. This bed here is all green beans, so we have a combination of pole green bean that's going up the trellising. So it's all the way up here. Check that out. And then we have, of course, nasturtium, marigold for bugs, and then down here, green bean, bush varieties. Now the fix is fairly simple. I'm not going to lie to you about that, okay? It's called vermicompost, and before you freak out at a very, very large word that sounds very, very intimidating and scary, it's simply just worm castings, guys, okay? Now the main difference between these two beds here is simply that this older bed that we have here, well, we grew in it last year, and in that bed we grew the no, not the cowpea, we grew the Mayflower in this bed. So it's already getting hot out here. It's early in the morning, but we grew the Mayflower out here, in this bed in particular. When you plant beans of this nature, so cowpea, red ripper, kind of similar to black-eyed peas, if you think of it that way, but most dry storage type beans actually put nutrients back into the soil, particularly nitrogen. So this bed, which is one of the things that a lot of plants need and / require to grow really well, so that kind of explains the explosion in that bed versus this bed. So what that tells me is, number one, obviously these guys are doing fairly well because they're trellising up, but we do probably need a little bit more nutrition in here. And since this bed is so new, we have not had the level of amending in there that we have compared to our older beds. And that's the other thing. If you are organic gardening, particularly, the more you maintain your garden space, the more you feed the soil, because we're not necessarily feeding the plants. We are feeding the microbiome, the biology that's in the soil. If you have really healthy soil, the byproduct is going to be healthy plants. But more than that, it's going to be highly nutritious plants, which is what we are really shooting for. We don't want plants that are producing food that is devoid of nutrition for us. So it's this whole ecosystem that's really, really fabulous, really, really intense, can be a little heavy. But once you start accumulating the knowledge about that, you begin to really realize the importance of healthy soil. So all we're literally going to do is take these worm castings, or worm poop, that's what it is, in effect, to break down everything that they do in the soil naturally. And I would definitely recommend worm farming if that's something that you've been thinking about but you haven't branched into. Go ahead and get started on it. I highly, highly recommend it. If you're needing a resource for really good information, hey, It's a Good Life, Natalie, she is awesome. I will try and put a direct link to her YouTube channel and her Instagram or Facebook for you guys, so that you can at least get her information and get started on learning some of this. But she is an amazing resource for everything to do with worms. How to start your own worm farm, how to use it. The other thing that you can do is create a worm casting tea. We're working on that right now. That's a really great way, especially if you've got bugs, to deal with them. So you're not having to bring in extra products to help ward things off. And it's a really good way to get nutrition into your plants and into the soil a little bit faster than just this. Because this is going to take a little bit longer. I'm okay with that right now. I will be going on ahead and I'll show you that at some point. I'll be doing some worm tea, which is what it's called, worm tea. I'll be doing some worm tea on these guys and I'll show you how I'm doing it. But let's go on ahead and get these worm castings in and get these plants tended to. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's get you in here so we can take a look. All right, so you see all of this? This is the worm castings, or vermicompost. This here is our regular soil. And what you can do, if you are just now planting, depending upon where you are in the country, grab a handful of this, put it in the bottom of the hole, and then plant your plant. The other thing that you can do is you can start the worm farming, and that is where most worm farmers get their compost. So just like you would top dress with regular compost that you would purchase, say, from the store, you would top dress with the worm castings. This stand is just not cooperating with me today. Now we are working on getting some worm farming started for our homestead, just because if you are in a small space, it can be challenging, to say the least, to have your own compost. And space, I kind of want to use it for some other things. So instead of doing these huge compost bins that are going to take at least a year for me to get a significant amount of compost, we've decided that we're going to go on ahead and start worm farming. That'll be coming soon. I'm working on getting everything we need so that we can do the setup for that. But we've been using worm castings for a little over a year, and we've just fallen in love with it. So I highly recommend this, especially if you are struggling with soil right now. That's a problem that's kind of global. Whew. Getting my hose going, trying to beat the heat here and doing two things at once. So definitely look into worm castings if you are in a small space garden and you are wanting to have access to a good, healthy soil option, because worm farming can provide that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, go on ahead and put them down in the comment section below, obviously. I will be keeping you guys apprised of our worm farming situation here on our little urban homestead. So I will see you guys on the next one. I'm going to go on ahead and get these beds all watered in. I had watered them, but I'm going to get the worm castings started and then get inside before I get roasted. So keep it simple, natural, and essential, and I will see you guys on the next video. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.